Hello, I'm Antonio Mora. This is the newsandnews.com Day in Brief on April 4th at about 7:30 p.m. After 2 years of a special counsel investigation that was kept as tight as a drum, some of Robert Mueller's investigators now seem to be joining the Washington leaking party. Both the New York Times and Washington Post report that some unnamed members of Mueller's team have told associates that Attorney General Barr failed to adequately portray the findings of their inquiry. The sources claim that prosecutors considered their findings were more troubling for President Trump than Barr indicated, and that Barr did not release summaries that were meant to be made public. The DOJ weighed in, saying the reporting about the summaries was not true. It also said Barr was working with Mueller to determine what sensitive materials needed to be redacted, and that every page of the Mueller report was marked, saying it may contain material that cannot be publicly released. Trump also weighed in, blasting the Times, claiming it had, quote, no legitimate sources. This afternoon, House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jerry Nadler demanded the DOJ turn over any summaries prepared by Mueller's team and all communications between Mueller and the Attorney General. The committee authorized a subpoena for the full Mueller report on Wednesday. It has not yet been issued. To nobody's surprise, Trump retreated from a second major policy initiative this week, his threats to close the border with Mexico. Last week, he said there was a very good likelihood he'd close the border this week, something that was echoed by many of his senior officials. The White House had faced harsh blowback from Republicans and business groups who pointed out that closing the border would severely hurt the U.S. economy. Now, Trump says he will give Mexico a year to stop the flow of drugs to the U.S., threatening to impose tariffs on Mexican-made cars if that doesn't happen. Boeing CEO issued an apology today, saying the company is, quote, sorry for the lives lost in the recent 737 MAX accidents, and that it is, quote, relentlessly focused on safety to ensure tragedies like this never happen again. This comes as a preliminary report indicates Ethiopian Airlines pilots performed all the procedures recommended by Boeing, but were still unable to control the plane and avoid a deadly nosedive. The FAA said it is forming an international team to launch a new review of the safety of the 737 MAX. 3 more women accused Joe Biden of touching them inappropriately, taking the total who have come forward to 7. Even before the latest accusers came forth, the former vice president issued a 2-minute video where he acknowledged that times have changed and that he would adjust his behavior. While many prominent women and men on both sides of the aisle have defended Biden, many Democrats feel it's important he apologize, something he did not do in the video. Trump said today that Democrats who are demanding his tax returns can talk to his lawyers. House Ways and Means Committee Chairman Richard Neal formally requested that Trump's tax returns be sent over from the IRS for the past 6 years. Trump is the first president since Nixon not to release his returns while campaigning for president. Trump again insisted he's under audit and that he will not release the returns while he is. Secretary of State Pompeo called on NATO allies to adapt and confront emerging threats, including China, cyber warfare, and Russia's interventionism, including its moves in Venezuela. He spoke at a summit of NATO foreign ministers in Washington that is marking the alliance's 70th anniversary. Cracks in the alliance have been evident, including Trump and Secretary General Stoltenberg's calls for members to meet NATO defense spending guidelines. Turkey's Islamist-rooted government has increasingly taken anti-American positions, including purchasing a missile defense system from Russia. The U.S. said it is suspending Turkey's participation in the F-35 fighter jet program, and Vice President Pence sharply criticized the Erdogan government, questioning its desire to remain a NATO member. Also, Secretary of State Pompeo warned Turkey's foreign minister of potentially devastating consequences if Turkey follows through on threats to attack U.S. allied Kurdish forces in Syria. Officers with ICE's Homeland Security Investigations Unit arrested more than 280 people at a telecommunications repair company in Allen, Texas, a suburb of Dallas. It is the largest workplace immigration operation at one work site in a decade. The undocumented immigrants come from 15 countries. The FBI is investigating whether Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort is vulnerable to spies after a woman with 2 Chinese passports, 4 cell phones, a laptop, a hard drive, and a thumb drive with malware on it made her way past some layers of security while Trump was visiting. She's been charged with making false statements to a federal officer and entering restricted grounds. China is reportedly providing her with consular services. Trump called the case just a fluke. British Prime Minister Theresa May's government and senior opposition figures held talks today following a meeting between May and Labour Party leader Jeremy Corbyn yesterday. Talks to avoid a chaotic no-deal Brexit will continue tomorrow, even though many in May's Conservative Party are furious that she's negotiating with Corbyn. One of the big issues is that the parties are divided, unable to agree amongst themselves on how Brexit should proceed or whether it should proceed at all. May is expected to make a written offer to Corbyn that will include a possible vote in Parliament on another referendum. In a late-night vote on Wednesday, the House of Commons passed a bill by just 1 vote that would force May to seek another Brexit extension beyond the current April 12th deadline if no deal is reached. The bill also blocks the possibility of a no-deal Brexit. The problem is that the EU must approve that extension, something it may not do unless there is progress in the UK toward an agreement. Top hurricane forecasters have made their first prediction for the Atlantic hurricane season, which begins on June 1st. They believe it will be slightly below average, with 13 named tropical storms, 5 of which will become hurricanes, 2 of them major. That's about 75% of what we see in an average year. Last year's forecast was almost dead on. 2018 was about 20% more intense than usual. How rich is Jeff Bezos? He's so rich that now that his divorce is finalized and his ex-wife Mackenzie gets 25% of his Amazon shares, he is still the wealthiest person in the world. Bezos retains control of Mackenzie's shares, and he keeps all his interests in the Washington Post and the Blue Origin Aerospace Company. Mackenzie's shares are worth about $35 billion, which reportedly makes her the world's 3rd richest woman. Yabba dabba don't. You've got to see the pictures of a house in a fancy San Francisco suburb that was inspired by the Flintstones, complete with dinosaur and other Stone Age-style sculptures throughout its yard. It is not popular in the town of Hillsborough, which claims it is a nuisance and a public eyesore. A battle is playing out between government rules and property rights, with thousands having signed a petition to preserve the property. The house itself, built decades ago, isn't at risk, but the yard installations are. You can find all those stories and much more updated around the clock 7 days a week on newsandnews.com, where you'll find all you need to know in one place. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel by clicking on the right of your screen just below this video. Please follow us on Facebook at Real News and News, and follow me on Twitter at AMoraTV. I'll see you again tomorrow.